All right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, we are talking about Orphan First Kill, the inexplicable sequel, scratch that, prequel to Orphan from 2009, about a little girl who goes to live with a family, and it turns out that she's not a little girl. She's actually a 30-year-old woman from Eastern Europe, and she's going to go on a killing spree. And it's a completely insane movie, and now we have a prequel where the same actress has returned 13 years later to play her younger. This movie's nuts, and joining me to talk about it is Chad Clinton Freeman. He's back on the show. It's been a while since Chad's been with us. We have a really fun conversation coming up here in a second. Before we get to it, though, I want to remind you, as always, to make sure you're subscribed to Piecing It Together on your podcast app of choice. While you're there, maybe drop us a little 5-star rating, and of course, follow us on social media at PiecingPod. Also, don't forget, we do have a Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where we post bonus and advanced content from Piecing It Together, from Awesome Movie Year, and from my music career. Lots of great stuff. Patreon.com/bydavidrosen. We appreciate the support, but of course, just keep listening and sharing the show and sending us in your puzzle pieces. Now, let's talk about Orphan First Kill. Chad Clinton Freeman's back with us for the first time in a while, actually. We're going to talk about Orphan First Kill. Chad, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. I am happy to be back on the show. Yeah, it's been my longest time away from the show, I think. I can't remember if it was the Batman or if it was the Chainsaw episode, but way back early in the year.
Chainsaw was earlier. Yeah, we did that one. God, who remembers that movie? Anyway, this will be a fun one, though. This is going to be completely ridiculous. You know, before we start getting into puzzle pieces and all that stuff, how big a fan of the first one were you of Orphan, the ridiculous creepy kid movie?
I loved the original Orphan movie. I did. I thought it was fantastic. And I was excited for this one. I know a lot of people were like, what? This isn't going to be any good. And I was excited for it. You know, it's a great character, for one.
Mm-hmm.
She's a lot of fun. Esther's just fabulous. It was like, how are they going to pull this off? How are they going to do a prequel when she's actually 13 years older than she was in the original one? There were a lot of questions about that. A lot of people thought that they were going to de-age her. They don't really go that route, which I think works in its favor.
For the most part. Yeah, there's a few shots where it's like what are they doing, you know? But for the most part, it does work, though, because it was already weird in the first one. Like, there was really no telling how old she actually was in that first one, and so it was weird. I also couldn't remember going into this if that actually was a twist or if we knew that from the trailers. Like, I was trying to place where we were when the first Orphan came out.
So the first one, that was the big twist. So you assume that this actually was a kid, and you didn't know until very late into the film. And you know, that movie really, I guess, kind of launched. I don't remember if it's our first movie or not, but Isabelle Fuhrman, who plays Esther. And she's a wonderful actress. She is. She's done some great work since then. I don't know if you've seen The Novice, but The Novice was one of my favorites of last year. Very, very great.
I remember you talking about it. So I haven't seen it, but I know that she's done some really interesting stuff since then. And so, I mean, that's great that she's been able to, continue, moving her career along and doing interesting things and not just, schlocky, kind of things. But the weird thing about my puzzle piece list is, as I was like putting them together, I was realizing some of these are kind of more about the first one than they are about the second one. Like, I'm kind of like combining it in my head, Like,
I mean, it's kind of an extension of that film anyway, in so many ways. So, I mean,
it's a creepy kid movie. You know, we're getting deep into the creepy kid subgenre here. So,
well, yeah,
you know?
I'm with you there. Honestly, a lot of my pieces are just kind of they're either kind of connected in some way, or yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like a combination of, is it this movie or is it just that movie? And yeah,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah,
got
some
you.
of mine are connected as well. So maybe we'll kind of mix up the usual back and forth format and kind of, go from one to another, and then we'll switch it up as we go. But yeah, let's start getting into some pieces here. What do you have for your first piece?
Okay, so first piece, and I went back and rewatched this movie. I had last night. I hadn't watched it, and probably since I saw it at the theater. And that's Fatal Attraction. Fatal
Okay.
Attraction, of course, is like the godfather of psychological thriller movies. I mean, I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember if it was actually like the first one, but it was definitely the one that kind of set the blueprint for what psychological thrillers were. And that's very much what these Orphan movies are psychological thrillers, very much a throwback to the
Mm-hmm.
90s. The things that I really keyed in on, uh, made me think Fatal Attraction, though, was a couple of moments. One is when Esther is sitting there in the art room and she's turning the light on and off, and it's
Oh,
it's
sure.
becoming like violent. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like you feel her anger from just that little thing of the light going on and off, and that
Yeah.
was very much took me back to Fatal Attraction, because the Glenn Close character, she's sitting in her room and she's just flipping the little light off and on. It's like one of those lamps with a little switch. It was just very
Sure. Yeah.
reminiscent of that.
It's a great way to show that derangement.
Yeah, exactly. And then also the fact that she kind of has this little pet, a mouse in her room,
Mm-hmm.
Esther, that she communicates with, and then it ends up dying, and she puts it in the smoothie. All of
Yeah.
that just felt very Fatal Attraction with the rabbit.
Yeah, sure.
Also, in going back and rewatching Fatal Attraction, though, the finale, when Michael Douglas basically drowns Glenn Close's character in the bathtub, and then
Mm-hmm.
she pops up and the
Sure.
wife shoots her. And the wife, you didn't even realize she was like in the picture. So that reminded me of the reveal of when Esther, is killing the detective, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
that's when we get the reveal of the mom knows it's not Esther, because she comes in and she pulls the trigger on the detective. So there's those.
Which is a great
Oh
twist.
yes,
It's
definitely, definitely.
absolutely ridiculous that they were able to pull off in these dumbass movies to be able to pull off two really great twists, two movies in a row. I don't know that they could do it a third time, but who the hell knows? But
Yeah.
yeah, it
Um,
really took me by surprise for
I
sure.
I was trying to figure out too how they would actually do a like a third one, like an actual sequel to the first film.
Hmm.
Where we left Esther, I don't know if that can actually happen, but it
Sure.
there's always a way.
Yeah. Well, that's a great piece to kick it off with. I mean, it's funny, like, I feel like the movie, you're absolutely right, like, as far as it being a psychological thriller, but I feel like it kind of toes the line between psychological thriller and, like, slasher movie in a way, where it's, like, body count driven, and, how are we going to see Esther kill all these people? But definitely, it's most definitely a psychological thriller, too. You brought up Fatal Attraction as the godfather of psychological thrillers. I'll go back to possibly Godfather of creepy kid movies and go to the Bad Seed for my first
Oh
puzzle piece.
yes, definitely.
You know, you can go back to the 56, I think it was the original of a creepy little shit kid with pigtails. Or you could take it to the 2018 Lifetime version with McKenna Grace and Rob Lowe. Any version of the Bad Seed, but it actually works better with this one than the first Orphan, because at first I was thinking, wait a minute, am I thinking of the first Orphan? But this one, it's in theory their own kid who is evil and doing all this crazy shit. So until of course the reveal with Julia Stiles that she knows what's going on, and then it's everything's twisted on its head, but you still have that creepy kid thing going on and the styling of the creepy kid to make it all innocent and childlike. Takes you back to all of those kind of creepy child movies.
And I am glad you brought that one up because it has been forever since I've seen The Bad Seed. I never saw the Lifetime one. I'm also glad you're bringing in Lifetime, because
yeah, sure. We watched the original right before the Lifetime one came out. I think it was 2018, and yeah, a little better, but yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, I feel Fatal Attraction was a big influence on Lifetime movies in general.
Oh God, all of them, every single one. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, yeah, that is one of the neat things about this Orphan First Kill is that it is very much psychological thriller. It is very much a slasher. It is very much a creepy kid movie, but not. It's very exploitation, which I think all of that kind of is where Lifetime is on a watered down, level these days.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
no, yeah.
absolutely. What do you got for your next piece?
I guess I'll just go ahead and go with this one because I was thinking of movies that were good movies that did not need sequels.
Okay.
So we could kind of use that as a category. I did
Hmm.
specifically think of Saw because, when Saw 2 came out, I was just like, why did they make a sequel to Saw 2? And how are they going to go, move forward with, and of course they've made, I the 10 I think it's going to be that's coming out. So maybe there's a way to keep going with Esther. I mean, maybe Esther has other proteges like her trained the girl that was trained kind of like a dog in the mental
Yeah.
institution. um
Sure.
and of course, the boy was the other one, which I did not even know until I went back to look, and I was like, "Wait, this is the same guy that did The Boy
Same
and
director.
Boy
Yep.
2?"
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there are, sure you could probably think of plenty, but there are lots of movies that were good movies that they didn't deserve a sequel, didn't need a sequel, but they got a sequel. This one somehow it did work for me because I did really like it.
Right.
I didn't think The Boy 2 worked. I didn't think Saw 2 worked. Overall, though, I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy the Saw franchise. So again,
Sure.
hey, as long as they make their money back, I guess, uh, we may see more Esther films. And this one didn't cost anything to make. It was like $500,000.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. That's kind of amazing because it doesn't look terrible. Like it looks fine. But you know what? I was gonna bring this up later, but since you're going with good movies that didn't need sequels, I actually had a category in my puzzle piece list: unnecessary prequels. So I just wrote down a list. I haven't even seen all of these, but I was just kind of like
beautiful.
writing down ones that I've like had seen
Right.
listed over the years. Carlito's Way, Rise to Power,
Never saw it.
Hannibal
Never
Rising,
saw it.
uh, Dumb and Dumber, When
Nope.
Harry Met Lloyd, Oz the Great and Powerful,
See, I didn't even seen that one. I've seen none of these.
Marley and Me, The Puppy Years.
Wow.
You know what I mean? These movies just did not need to like happen. And I would say the same for Orphan vs. Kill, but like you said, it actually turned out not bad. So it's kind of surprising,
Yeah.
but most of the time when these things happen, they're just completely
Yeah.
unnecessary.
Yeah. And the title itself, First Kill, doesn't even make sense. So, I mean,
No, it doesn't at all. Yeah.
because you assume going in, okay, like we're going to see the first time she kills somebody, but we don't because they
No.
let us know immediately that basically stay away from her because you're
Yeah.
going to die.
Well,
So,
maybe that's what the next one is further back
yeah,
prequel, and we get to
actually the
actually see the
first
first
kill.
kill. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is that I assumed it was going to be this would lead up to, okay, here's the first time she killed, but no, she's clearly evil from the get-go, which
Yeah,
I was
just straight up
happy,
murder.
because
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be like the Rob Zombie Halloween.
Yeah. Absolutely. What do you got for your next one?
This is another great movie. I went back and rewatched it actually last night as well because it popped in my head and I couldn't really remember a lot of details to actually talk about it. And that's Matchstick Men, the Ridley
Okay.
Scott and of course Nick Cage movie. Fantastic movie because I was thinking of
Oh yeah.
movies where basically you've got somebody that is a con artist that they become the conned because that's what very much
Sure.
this is, it switches from the predator becoming the prey. And so he's just trying to think of movies, great movies that use that same sort of idea. And so, Matchstick Men, and it's hard to talk about this one because it's one that I don't think should be spoiled too much. But
Sure.
basically, you've got Nick Cage's character who is this con man, and he's finds out he has this daughter, and then he kind of starts teaching her some of the ways of conning, gets her involved in a con, and there's just some family secrets that I guess are revealed,
Sure. Good
and
good way to put it.
it works so very well with the actress that's in the movie, which I don't know what happened with Alison Lohman.
I know.
She
She was in
was she
Drag Me
was
to Hell and then just kind of disappeared.
yeah, she was in several great ones back then, and then all of a sudden, I'm not really sure where she ended up, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, really good movie. Don't want to spoil too much about it, but it's one that it works so fantastic. The twist, like the original Orphan, which hopefully people have already watched the first Orphan before
Yeah.
they see this one.
Absolutely. But yeah, Matchstick Men is a great movie. We actually covered it on Awesome Movie Year. Just so good, and people should definitely check that out. And yeah, great piece there. I'm surprised I didn't think of it because I love that movie.
I see. I thought that was one you were gonna have for sure. There's a couple
Yeah,
that I'm like, okay, I know he's gonna bring these up.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I will go with a movie I think we thought was going to be good, but ended up not being that great. But Changeling, the 2008 Clint Eastwood movie with Angelina Jolie. She's
Mm,
a woman whose missing child is returned to her, but she is sure that it's not really her kid. And nobody believes her, and she's kind of painted to be crazy. And of course, this is different because in this case, the mom really does know it's not her kid. But so that we definitely diverge from Changeling in this movie, in Orphan First Kill. But still, that idea that the kid is brought back and it's not actually the kid. I'm sure there's other versions of this that could be pointed to, but that was the kind of the first one that came to mind for me as far as that like particular sub genre of this
right.
kind of thing.
Yeah. No, yeah, I know I've seen many through the years where it's somebody thinks it's their kid, or it's a kid pretending to be the kid, or is it the
Yeah.
kid? There's definitely been a lot of those, and I couldn't think of any specific ones either.
I know for
That
sure there's a bunch of Lifetime ones, by the way. So,
yeah. So no, I actually hadn't seen that Clint Eastwood movie. I somehow didn't see that one. I can't even think of when that one even actually came out.
yeah, yeah, no, that it was like positioned as like a big like, oh, this is going to be an Oscar type thing, and then it just kind of came and went, and nobody really talked about it ever again until this podcast.
Nah.
So,
So I probably shouldn't worry about going back and watching that.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
what do you got for your next one?
Well, the next one would be a good one to kind of go off of what I was just talking about with Matchstick Men, and that's Hard Candy.
Sure.
Great, you know, psychological thriller also that has you know the predator becoming the prey. Just a great, cat and mouse, two people in a house movie. It's another one of those that you don't want to talk a whole lot about because it does spoil a bit of it. Ellen Page, I think that may have been her first film. Yeah, that I'm pretty sure that was before Juno.
Yeah.
Because I remember walking out of that movie just being like, "Wow, that was so great," and I thought it was going to be huge. And then it's kind of been kind of like a cult following, but not really
Yeah,
ever.
I think it's become a cult thing.
Yeah, but no, yeah, that's definitely, and also you've got a younger actress playing basically two parts within the one part, same the way Esther is,
Sure.
whereas she's the cute and innocent, but she's not really.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, what, I'll combine a couple pieces, like speaking to that cute and innocent, and I kind of talked about it a little bit with the bad seed, but I would bring a little bit of Wednesday Adams in here from the Adams family.
Oh yeah,
You
Esther's
know,
definitely, yeah,
100%, and then I'd also throw in Annabelle the doll. But both of them just these horror characters that are kind of set up as these like cute and innocent girls who are actually evil in some way. And Wednesday to a different degree. I mean, she's just fun evil. But
right.
Annabelle being a straight up demon, and Esther falls somewhere in between.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
So
and Wednesday with the new Netflix movie looks like they're pushing it more into that very dark and evil direction. But yeah,
absolutely.
Wednesday previous versions of Wednesday, specifically like the Christina Ricci version, she's like you said, it's there's this evilness there, but it's not as dark and twisted
Yeah.
as an Esther. Now,
Yeah, it's
the
sanded down quite a bit.
right now the new
Yeah.
one, maybe just from the trailers, looking like maybe she is, you know. But no, that's definitely a good one, and I know that went into the thinking of the filmmaker because there's the one part where Gunner's friends actually call her Morticia,
Sure.
and that was purposely to not be completely on the nose. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
didn't want to call her Wednesday because that's just too much. But call her Morticia, which doesn't even really
It does
fit.
barely make sense, but yeah. That's good though. I mean, kids, young kids probably don't know the difference, so
Oh yeah.
it kind of fits. So, what do you got next?
Well, along that same line of thinking, I'll go with the Good Son.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
which Good Son's another one of those great '90s psychological thrillers. Of course, Macaulay Culkin, Elijah Wood. This is a movie that I need to go back and revisit. I love The Good Son. It's a fantastic movie. Um, and I think there's kind of this theme also in these '90s psychological thrillers after Fatal Attraction, where either the bad, but yeah, usually in those movies, it's usually the bad person ends up falling to their death. Now, I can't
Mhm.
remember or not if that's what happens with Macaulay's character or not. It seems like there was something to do with a well, and then there was also the treehouse. And I don't remember exactly how he died.
Yeah,
Didn't go
I
back and
feel like he
rewatch it.
did. I feel like that's what happens. He falls, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
I know Hand That Rocks the Cradle, which here's a way to throw out another piece.
Sure.
She Dies by Falling. I believe Poison Ivy, Drew Barrymore, another great one. I believe Dies by Falling. That's one I hadn't seen in forever. There's a box set, though, of the Poison Ivy movies that I need to get.
Nice.
There was four of those movies. I know I think I saw the second one. I
Yeah.
think one of them's got Alyssa Milano in it. They're
Mhm.
awful,
I'm
but the
sure.
first one's great. So I got to get that box set. But yeah, it seems like a lot of times, those movies ended with people falling to their death. Now the twist
Yeah.
here is, of course, the See, she's kind of the villain, but kind of the hero in this movie.
Right, exactly. She becomes the
So,
hero in a weird, dark, strange way, like total
but
anti-hero.
yeah. So I guess the bad people still do fall to their death. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, that's definitely one of those themes of these kind of movies.
nice. I like it. I like it. I'll go with a silly one for my next one here. I thought of Family Guy, and
Nice.
the way that Stewie Griffin is always trying to kill his parents, but it never works out. And there's that scene where Esther tries to push the mom off the train tracks, but ends up getting pushed out of the way at the last second, and her plan is foiled. And then like the rat in the drink, and it doesn't
Right.
work out. Like there's all these ways that she's trying to kill her mom, and it's just never quite working out. And I thought of Stewie Griffin, which is kind of just shows just how ridiculous this movie is.
Yeah.
I guess while we're at it, I mentioned this in our trailer episode, but having Isabelle Fuhrman back to play herself younger. I'll add in here Wet Hot American Summer First Day of Camp, in which the entire cast of Wet Hot American Summer comes back to play themselves a little bit younger. So got 2 TV shows in there for you.
No, the Stewie, that's a nice one because yes, because Stewie, he's very much like mature for many,
A mature baby.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean he really is, and he's almost like he is a baby that has the mind of like an unhinged like mental patient in a way.
Yeah,
So I mean
sure.
that definitely fits with Esther.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean that's such the weird thing though, is that like when you start to think about the layers here that are going on. So the actress is like in her 20s. She's playing a character that's in her 30s that looks like she's supposed to be 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, and at the time of the first one, they just had a 10-year-old playing this 30-year-old who looks like she's 10. So it's like there's so many different, just weird things here going on.
Yeah.
Um, and I just wonder how odd that is for her as an actress
Oh, I'm sure
taking
it's a
on
very
this
weird
role.
role. Yeah. Absolutely. A lot of strange mental prep work must have gone into this thing.
Now the odd thing though that I thought was is that I'm like, okay, she's older playing the part now. They can push this film in directions that they didn't the first one. But honestly, the first one pushed it more like the with the dad and the daughter, like the sexual tension that got
Mhm.
pushed more in the first film than it did in this one,
Yeah,
which
and it's there in this one, but it's
yeah,
definitely more in the first one.
yeah, which I thought was odd that, like,
Yeah.
they could have gone there more this way and they didn't, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That'll come up more in one of my future puzzle pieces, but
Ah,
what do you have for your next one though?
well, you brought up a fun one, this goes in good with that one. I was just thinking of this this really, really silly and awful, exploitation movie called The Sinful Dwarf. It's,
Boy.
yes. It's an actual dwarf that lives in like this hotel with his mother. It's like a really rundown hotel, and of course they have women guests, and he spies on them, and he like drugs them and keeps them to do as he pleases with them, and
Mm,
it's just a very, very, very uh, like awful movie in so many ways, but at the same time, it's also very just laughable.
yeah.
It's like uh, the it was put out like by Severin, on
Yeah.
DVD, and I believe they put it on Blu-ray too. And of course, they put it out as, oh, this is an X movie. I don't think it was ever rated or anything like that. It's not like pornographic, but it's just very one of those uh, dirty exploitation movies that's just very, very exploitive because Yes, it's a dwarf, and he's playing the sinful dwarf. And
Yeah.
um, this one just made me think of that one, because how many movies do we have that? Okay, so this one isn't really a killer kid, but it's a killer dwarf. I mean, there's not a lot of
Right.
movies, so
Yeah, I'm actually like thinking like I don't know of any examples, but there's got to be some exploitation like really dirty kind of movies that like take this particular kind of story in Orphan or Orphan First Kill with like a little girl who infiltrates a house
right,
under the guise of being their lost daughter, and then things get ridiculous from there. But
right.
taking that more exploitative kind of route instead of it being like a more mainstream horror like this is.
Right. Well, and
So
you said something there though, infiltrates their house, and honestly, that's kind of what this movie is, and I think this genre in many ways, it's like a an home infiltration
yeah.
where they come in and they want to replace somebody, or they
Mm-hmm.
want to become somebody, or take over the place of somebody. And in this case, it's the daughter, and then she also wants to be, you know she wants to take over for the mother,
Sure.
which part of what I really loved about this movie was that relationship, hate relationship that the mother Julia Stiles has with Esther.
Yeah.
I think that worked really well, and I almost wanted more of that. This movie could have been a little bit longer, and they could have worked in a little bit more between those two, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I think that they could have had, it goes back to the whole Stewie Griffin thing with his mom. Like they could have really been at each other's throats a lot more. Which Julia Stiles is so good in this that
Yeah, yeah.
they could have had a lot of fun with that. So I agree with you. I'll go with the Gypsy Rose Blanchard story. Whether you go with
Nice,
the
nice.
Act series or I Love You to Death, the Lifetime movie, everybody is fooled into thinking this little girl is actually their daughter. Except the mom knows. So you kind of have that, and there's that hatred between the daughter and the mom.
Right.
Obviously with Gypsy Rose Blanchard, it's more a real reason for the hatred, but it's a whole fucked up story for anyone who doesn't know it. There's a documentary, there's podcasts. That story has been adapted so many times. I would even throw in here the movie Run from a couple years ago, which I did not really like, but I feel like was like the number one puzzle piece for that movie, the Gypsy Rose
Right.
Blanchard story. So, and that kind of digs into the Munchausen by proxy thing, which this movie doesn't necessarily do, but you still have that, like we're just talking about the whole mom daughter thing, and just like the sick relationship between the two. So there's a lot of parallels that could be drawn there, and I have a feeling that when the first Orphan movie came out, that was probably part of the inspiration too.
Right. Yeah. No, the act was so good.
Yeah.
I honestly, for whatever reason, didn't know a whole lot about this, and I think it was the act I watched, and I was like, wow.
Oh yeah. It's
And
it's a
then I
crazy
started getting
story.
into like these different documentaries and stuff about it. Yeah, no, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
It's movies and stories like that though that really let you know that this, like, orphan stuff isn't that far-fetched.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, apparently
it's
there's more than one real life story that actually inspired the first Orphan movie of these like Eastern European kids who have like kind of like snuck their way in, and it's freaking weird.
yeah, no, definitely.
Odd stuff. What do you got
Yeah.
next?
I'll take this back to the Killer Kids,
Mhm.
and, the movie Mikey. Have you seen Mikey?
I'm not sure.
It's a fantastic Killer Kid movie. I think it's from the '80s. It may have been from the no,
92.
'90s, early '90s. Yeah, so this was one of those on VHS, that we rented, and I remember just me, my brother, my sister, we all just love this movie. It's just so at the time so different because you actually see this kid committing these acts of violence, like
Yeah.
hitting people in the head with baseball bats and things like that. And it's just like it's so funny when it shouldn't be.
Yeah, sure.
It's just it's fantastic. And basically, he essentially does what Esther does here, in that he gets adopted, and then he like kills everyone and burns down the house, and then it's just like on to the next family. And
Yeah.
he's actually a little kid. I forget what his whole backstory is, but it's
Some kids are
something
just
else.
evil, Chad.
Yeah.
It's just
So
sometimes it just happens.
yeah, Mikey is definitely a recommend of the Killer Kid movies. Fantastic. Like I said, it's one of those that's just like absolutely hilarious when it shouldn't necessarily be. And maybe
Yeah.
some people don't think it's hilarious, but it's hilarious to me. I even rewatched it a
Sure.
couple of years ago. Yeah, I think it was on Prime or something. It may still be, but yeah, it's great.
We were laughing through both Orphan movies, so I'm sure we'd be laughing through Mikey too. So, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I got my last piece here, and I said that relationship with the daughter and the father would come back up. This isn't a movie, although some might suggest that some of these count as movies, but porn in the current age of America right now. There was an article recently about like what some of the most searched for porn searches are in the last couple of years, and a lot of incest, a lot of stepdaughters, a lot of Eastern European, a lot of weird family stuff. And this isn't exactly the podcast to dig into what exactly is going on and why this is where porn searches are headed towards. But I think that idea that's what people are looking at more and more probably lends itself to a movie like this.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, is that dysfunctional families, I think, is a part of basically a lot of great entertainment. And I
Yeah.
guess I guess people take that a step
Let's call it
further.
entertainment. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because one of the things that came to mind in me watching it, because one, I was like, man, Julia Stiles is great in this. Where has she been, and what's the last thing that she did that was great? And
Hmm.
I was like, I can't remember her in anything. The last time I remember was like Dexter. And I was like, "Wait, Dexter? It
Yeah.
kind of works here." And her character also, her character in Dexter, is kind of similar in this movie as well. But Dexter, is this dysfunctional family, so that works in well with what we're talking about here. I just think, and even the Adams family is like the classic
Sure.
dysfunctional family. I just think that dysfunctional families and all their different levels, whether we're talking about a family that actually, uh, is just different from normal and actually works as a family unit, and there's
Hmm.
actually love there, or families that there's abuse there, there's neglect there, or what have you. And I just think that plays a huge piece in all like entertainment, and I guess that's heavily spilling over into porn these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, Dexter's a good piece, because also just the family secrets, that's one of the big things that just comes into play through the years with Dexter, including the most recent version of Dexter, and without giving up too much in regards to where that goes. It just, families and secrets and hiding things, and then also murder. I think that,
Hmm.
you know, th- that is a big part of Dexter, and then also this movie here. So
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, do you have any other pieces you wanted to bring up before we wrap this thing up?
I've got one that I thought you were going to bring up, so I honestly didn't even write it down. Uh, but
Wow.
Titan, or or however you say it, Titane, however you
Oh, yeah, sure, to 10. Yeah,
yeah, I thought for sure you were gonna bring it up, but the
that
fact
would be
that
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
the fact that she, pretends to be sees this picture of a missing person, and then she's like, "Okay," smashes her face and, like, goes into pretending that she's this person that's been missing, and then they accept them for who they are, knowing
yeah,
that that's not really them. I mean, it's, that weird relationship there.
yeah,
Because at first I I thought that's the direction this was gonna kinda go, because immediately I felt that the mom and the son did not they knew something was up. Like
yeah,
the dad didn't. The dad's clueless here. Obviously, a 30-year-old can trick the dad into thinking it's his daughter, but
yeah.
and I think maybe that's just because that want of to have his daughter back is so strong that he's kind of
Mhm.
blinded by that. And I think
Sure.
that's what happens in these situations
That's
is
to
that
10 right
yeah,
there.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting though the way that they toy with that whole concept. Um, but yeah, no, I thought that was a good one that would definitely be mentioned. I thought it was going to be your first piece out the gate.
Yeah. No, you're right. That I should have thought of that one. That
So
that is great. I
so
love it.
I didn't even write that one down, but oh, I remember what I was thinking. The um the way this is shot, I thought was really great. The way that they use the forced perspective with her. Of course, they have all the actors except for her in heels, and then
Sure.
they use a lot of high camera angles on her, and then they use body doubles, of little kids. I think that they almost reveal a little bit too much of her too early on. They could have done more with body doubles and stuff,
Mm.
but I still appreciate the forced perspective that they use, and that reminded me a lot of the movies of Charles Band, specifically the Puppet Master movies.
Oh, sure.
Charles Band is a master of using forced perspective. Again, he's one, instead of using CGI, he's going to use forced perspective to cut down on costs.
Mhm.
And they do that a lot here. Whereas if they wanted to, they could have just threw a whole bunch of money at this and did this all CGI like they did in Stranger Things, the most recent season. Um, so
All right. Yeah, no, that's a good one. And yeah, that is a really cool way to, work around having to do digital de-aging because we know that that wouldn't really work very well. And, it's definitely better to do things this way, more practical and, kind of makes for a better film that way.
right,
But yeah, no, great final piece there. Instead of the finished puzzle where I read down the list of everything we talked about a lot of puzzle pieces. I'm going to end this by saying that my wife Gina was going to guest on this episode, but she got a little busy and she'll make her debut at some point here on Piecing It Together. But she did email me a little list of what she was thinking
nice,
about. So I'm going to read some of these that we didn't already talk
okay,
about and get your thoughts on them. But she wrote down Halloween and Michael Myers. Like we said earlier, it kind of
right.
does have some slasher elements to it. She brought up Nocturne, which did we cover that? Were you my guest on that one?
Wait, wait,
The
wait. I think
this
she's thinking of The Lie, because The Lie is one that I thought of. Nocturne we did cover, but
okay.
The Lie is the one where the parents cover up for the daughter. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
So yeah,
They were released at the same time. They're the Welcome
exactly.
to the Blumhouse movies. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Lie I think is the one she's thinking of. But yeah, no,
Okay.
that was a good one.
Okay, yeah, so there's that. She also had She's All That for the stairs scene and her transformation. So,
I've never seen She's All That. I've got that. I own that movie, but I've never watched it. I
it's
don't know why I've
fun.
never watched it, but yes, I need to watch it.
I haven't seen it in a million years. So, she of course wrote down Wednesday Addams, which we talked about. She also wrote down Lizzie Borden, which I think would
Yes,
fit in there.
which was a direct call out. But yeah,
Yeah.
a good one. There's never been a good like Lizzie Borden movie. There's a good movie called Lizzie though that is
Yeah, I
about
remember that.
yeah, so that's a good one, but it didn't really work here.
Yeah. The John Benet Ramsey movie, which kind of fits in with some of those other true stories that we talked about.
Right.
So you can throw that in there.
Is that a Lifetime movie?
I think there was one. I think there's
Okay.
like a regular movie and a Lifetime movie. That's the kind of thing that'll get adapted over and over again, you
Yeah.
know?
I saw the documentary where they like talk to people that are going to play the roles or something. It was very, very weird.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looked really interesting. I never got to see that. She also put A Little Princess, which I don't know what that movie is. But I mean, just the title alone, it sounds like it makes sense. She had Poison Ivy on here, which you brought up earlier, and the last one was The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window, the recent parody movie of all of the, or actually series of all of the kind of woman going crazy subgenre of movies, and I think that could totally work in here. So yeah, some good pieces. And she, of course, also, if she had had time to do the episode, was going to make a big list of Lifetime movies to include. So as we've said, there's plenty. We brought up a couple during this, but this is the kind of thing that happens all the damn time in Lifetime movies. So,
right. Yeah. No, it's very, very, very psychological thriller, and then also Lifetime, which I feel was a big influence on that. Which Single White Female was one of the other movies I was thinking. Another one of those '90s movies that I absolutely love. And what was I had some other one that The Lie that made me think of The Deep End, which is a great movie about a mom basically trying to cover for her murderous son. It's a fantastic movie with Tilda Swinton.
Yeah, nice. By the way, hopefully Josh and Jason don't mind me revealing this 40 minutes into an episode on Orphan First Kill, but the audience choice episode of Awesome Movie Year for this current season, 1992, is going to be Femme Fatales with The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Basic Instinct, Poison Ivy, and Single White Female.
Oh,
so,
nice.
That's going to be a hell of a lineup.
That's a tough one for me because I really love Hand That Rocks the Cradle, but I also really love Single White Female. Which I was going to mention this. I got two funny movie theater stories basically with my parents. Fatal Attraction. I actually saw that at the movie with my dad. It came out when I was 13. I don't know exactly why me and my dad alone went to go see that movie, but I remember it was like on a Thursday night. We went to see it and there was like hardly anybody in the theater. It's not the kind of movie my dad normally took me to. In fact, our movies at the time, that was like, an exception. So that was something though that my dad he had brought up later to me, and the reason I had it on DVD because it was one of his favorite movies. He loved that. He loved Basic Instinct. He was big into that genre. But yeah, no, that was just kind of a weird movie theater experience. Now, just so happens I did see Single White Female in the theater with my dad and my cousin later, and then Hand That Rocks the Cradle me and my sister took my mom to, and I don't know why or how that happened or how that worked, but my mom, she doesn't like scary movies, and to this day she brings that up. She's like, y'all told me it wasn't gonna be scary. That movie was scary. So
family friendly entertainment.
So yeah, but no, I love those movies. I love the weird home invasion or home infiltration, as you put it. Those kind of movies, and I guess that's why I have found myself. I enjoy Lifetime movies. I don't go out of my way to watch them. I could probably subscribe and would probably watching them all the time, but they are fun. They are enjoyable. Of course, from time to time, I'll see them for cheap on Vudu, and I'll buy them. And then my brother, he has my Vudu, and he's like, Killer Garage Sale, is that a good one?
Yes, it actually is.
Yes, it
is. Yeah, some of them are pretty damn funny. So I could recommend a couple. But, I think that does it for Orphan First
yeah.
Kill. Chad,
Yes.
is there another movie you watched recently you'd like to recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, there's been so many since I've been on here. I could ramble off a whole bunch, but a good one that fits in with this episode is the movie Poser, which came out on digital just last month, I think. Great movie, actually about a podcaster who is gets heavily into underground music scene, and I believe it's Cleveland, Ohio. And she's, is she herself an artist and a singer, or is she just a fraud? And it's just a fun look at, basically art and I guess influence, inspiration versus like fraud. And it it's just fabulous. I loved it.
We're getting a lot of podcaster movies lately. We had that Vengeance with BJ Novak, and like I wonder if they're gonna like kind of crack that and actually get some good ones. It sounds like you're saying that this one's good. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, no, definitely recommend it. And of course, don't forget Halloween with the podcasters that get
I
the
try.
big
I
Michael
try to
Myers.
forget. I try to forget Halloween, Chad. I'm always trying to forget it. Yeah. So awesome. Chad, anything you want to plug before we get going here?
Nope, I'm good. People can find me though on Twitter, Polystaffel, Facebook, whatever, and go to the Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces Facebook group because it's a lot of fun. And
Awesome.
that's it.
I guess we'll get you back for Black Adam. Is that going to be next time?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely down for that. Yeah.
All right.
If it happens
will.
this year, they don't have any money, so maybe.
Yeah. They might have to do like a backyard screening of it or something. So.
What's good, you guys? This is Yo Correct here from the Podcast of Everything, a podcast that will dive into, well, everything, and will teach the world about amazing things, interview amazing people, and inspire everyone. This podcast brings traditionally YouTube content to an even larger audience and puts gaming and technology and tutorials at center stage, promoting a vast variety of knowledge, including educational topics and much more. If you guys would love to check out my podcast, you guys can search me up on Spotify, the Podcast of Everything with Yo Correct. I would love to see you guys over here. Bye.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation about Orphan First Kill. Thanks to Chad Clinton Freeman for joining me on that one. And thank you to all of you for listening. If you're enjoying what we do here on Piecing It Together, make sure you're subscribed wherever it is that you're listening. And if there happens to be a 5-star button, we'd really appreciate it if you dropped a little 5-star rating, maybe a couple sentence review. It would be really nice. It definitely helps to get more people to check out the show, and that's what we're here to do, is to reach more and more people, and we love doing this show. So thank you for whatever it is that you're doing to help support the show. You could also, of course, follow us on social media at PiecingPod, join our Facebook group Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. And I told you at the top about our Produced by David Rosen Patreon. If you really want, you could support that. Go sign up. We have a bunch of advanced episodes of Piecing It Together in there right now that will eventually make their way out to the main Piecing It Together feed. But for now, you can get them exclusively on the Patreon. There's also a bonus episode of Awesome Movie Year every season, and advanced and bonus and exclusive stuff from my music career. So lots of cool stuff over there. Patreon.com/bydavidrosen. Speaking of my music career, I know I've played this track before on the show, but it fits so well with something like Orphan. So I'm going to play this song called Playtime that is from a found footage killer doll movie called Heidi that's actually available, I think, to watch on Prime Video right now. But it's a film. It doesn't have much music because it's found footage, of course, and you're not supposed to have music in a found footage movie. But there's a couple of little cues that I made for it, and then for the end credits, I made this song. So I also released it on Spotify as a single, where you can actually check out my latest single, Antiviral, along with a playlist of all my singles, the David Rosen Singles Collection over on Spotify. So check that out. But right now, I hope you enjoy Playtime from the movie Heidi, and we'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
an All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.